At first, you'll be a Sherlock trainee. Look carefully at the pictures and pay attention to the smallest details to solve the riddles. Which one of these students has 3 mothers? It must be this guy right here, the one with the 3 sandwiches. The guy with 3 glasses got them from the cafeteria. He must be very thirsty, but it's not a sign of 3 mothers. But this one definitely brought sandwiches from home, so I bet it's him. Let me know if you disagree. Let's move on. One of the girls has a pet at home. Can you guess which one? It's the girl in the middle. Look, her hands and arms are scratched. She must be living with a cat. Okay, look at these 3 people. Who is a vampire? It's this guy. See, he doesn't cast a shadow. Something's wrong. Chastity was at a party and met 3 guys. All of them claimed to be pilots, but one of them lied. Can you guess who's not a pilot? Pilots must have perfect eyesight. This guy is wearing glasses, so he's not a real pilot. Look at these 3 students. One of them is left-handed. Can you figure out who exactly? It must be this girl. The outer side of her left hand has some ink stains. It happens when she writes. Since we write from left to right, her arm covers everything she's just written. 3 best friends met for a coffee in the evening. Can you tell which one of them has a pet? Look at this girl's bag. There's dog food in there, so she probably has a dog at home waiting for her. This one is super easy. 3 sisters came to visit their parents. One of them got engaged while she was away. Can you tell which one? It's this girl who's wearing a ring. 3 men came to a job interview. The company didn't want to hire fathers because they needed full commitment for the first year. All men said they were single and had no families, but one of them lied and actually had a daughter. Which one? It's this guy here. Why would he wear a pink scrunchie on his wrist if he wasn't making his daughter's hair right before the interview? Okay, now let's go and look at people's houses. Here are the bathrooms of Daryl and Tiberius. Which one of them has a girlfriend? It must be Tiberius. Look, there are 2 toothbrushes in his bathroom. Nevaeh and Nicolene are students. Both of them live in a 1-room apartment with their friends to split the rent. Their mothers once came to visit. Take a look at Nevaeh and Nicolene's bedrooms. Can you tell which one of them is dating her roommate? It must be Nevaeh. In Nicolene's bedroom, there are 2 single beds, and in Nevaeh's bedroom, there's just 1 big bed. Look at these 3 friends. One of them isn't really a human, but which one? Look, this guy right here has only 4 fingers. Perfect, we trained you well. Now let's solve some cases. The city bank was robbed, and Detective Callum was on the case. After a long investigation, the police managed to track the robber and found the money hidden in the nearest desert in a cactus bush. They couldn't see the robber's face, but there were 3 suspects. Take a look at the people. Who is guilty? It's this man. Look, he has many scars on his arms and hands. He must have gotten them when he was digging the money in the cactus bush. A group of friends asked Billiam if he wanted to join them on a hike that weekend. He said that he couldn't because he had broken his arm. The next day in school, Billiam, indeed, appeared with a broken arm. So he stayed at home and his friends went hiking. On Monday, the friends met in school again. Billiam said that he had just stayed home watching TV. His friends told him about the hike and asked why he had lied about the broken arm. Why did they decide that his arm wasn't really broken? Last week, Billiam's right arm was broken. On Monday, it was the left one. He must be faking it. Mr. Tucker called the police and reported that he had been robbed. Detective Callum arrived at his place and found Mr. Tucker tied up to a chair. Mr. Tucker said that he had been sleeping when someone wearing a mask had broken into the room. They took him right out of the bed, tied him up to the chair, and then took all the savings he was keeping in the wardrobe. When they left, he managed to call the police because his cell phone was in his pocket. Still, Detective Callum didn't believe him. Why? Mr. Tucker said that he had been taken right out of bed, but the bed was perfectly made. I doubt that a robber would care enough to make Mr. Tucker's bed on their way out. Detective Callum was spending the winter holidays at a ski resort with his friends. In the morning, they were going to go skiing on the fresh snow that had fallen at night when a local police officer called him and asked him to come to a hotel nearby to solve a case. So, Detective Callum had to go. Someone robbed the cashier's desk and there were 3 suspects. Questley said that she was in her room all night sleeping. Egbert said that he was out partying in a different hotel and had just come back around an hour ago. Fenton said that he had been binge-watching a show all night but hadn't stolen anything. Who is guilty? It was Egbert. If he had just returned, he would have left his footprints on the fresh snow, but there were no footprints leading to the hotel as Detective Callum was walking there. And the name Egbert will make anyone suspicious. There was a car accident in the suburbs, and police arrived to investigate the case. The driver went into a cliff right where the road was taking a dangerous turn. The car turned around, and he was pushed out of it and got stuck nearby. He had his cell phone on him, so he was able to make a call. A police officer helped the driver out and asked him to show what was in the trunk. The driver gladly opened it with his keys. In the trunk, there was his suitcase, some instruments, and a spare tire. The police officer said that the accident had been staged. Why? The driver took the keys out of his pocket. If it had been a real accident, the keys would have remained in the car. Mr. Grayson called the police and said that she had been robbed. Detective Callum arrived for the investigation. Here's what she said. It was almost midnight. I was in my room upstairs painting. Suddenly, the power went out. There was no light or electricity, and I could only see the streetlights outside. Then, the stationary phone rang. I was scared, so I didn't pick it up. I stayed upstairs, and in about 10 minutes, the light came back. I just went to sleep, and now, in the morning, I found out that someone stole my grandma's diamond ring. Detective Callum didn't believe her. Why? If the lights and the electricity were out, how would a stationary telephone ring? This lady is making things up. Gavin drove to get some groceries and parked his car in front of the store. Of course, he forgot where he had parked and couldn't find his car. Luckily, he had taken a picture of his parked car and he opened it to look up the number of the parking lot. The problem is that his parking lot number is covered and the number of the lots nearby doesn't make any sense. Can you figure out what's Gavin's parking lot number and where he should search for his car? The numbers are just turned upside down in the photo. The numbers are 86 through 91, and his car is parked in 87. Now I have a short logo quiz for you. I'll show you a logo, and you have to tell the company. Here's the first one. Do you recognize it? It's Honda, a Japanese car brand. This one is super easy. What is it? This is Pepsi, of course. What about this cute crocodile? Does it ring a bell? This is Lacoste, a French clothing brand. Another easy one. I bet you have it on your phone. Yes, of course. That's Spotify. What about this one? Yes, it's Nike. This one is a very fancy brand. What's your guess? That's Louis Vuitton. Okay, another one for you. It's harder, but you've got this. What's your call? This is Reebok, an American footwear company. Do you recognize this bull? Is a Lamborghini logo. This is a painfully familiar yellow rectangle. Where is it from? That's the National Geographic logo. Portia and Vinette live in a country where postal services are super unreliable. Everything sent by post is stolen from the package. How can Portia send his wife, Vinette, a diamond ring if both of them can buy locks, but don't have keys from each other's locks? Portia can lock the box with the ring and send it to Vinette. When she receives the box, she should lock the box with her lock and send it back to him. When he receives it, he can open his lock and remove it, and send the box back to Vinette with her lock only, so that she can open it once she gets it again. There is a box filled with balls of different colors. 5 red ones, 8 blue ones, and 11 purple ones. Ninja has to pick out balls blindfolded until he's sure that he has at least 2 balls of the same color. What's the minimum number of balls Ninja should take out to be sure of that? Worst case scenario, he'll be picking out the balls of a different color every time. There are 3 colors, so if he picks out 3, they might all be different. But if he picks out 4, then the additional one for sure will match one of the existing colors. So, Ninja should pick 4. Sarah was in her hotel room when she heard a knock on the door. When she looked through the peephole, she saw a man standing outside. "Sorry for bothering you. I'm the hotel manager," he said. "Our database has crashed, and I need to recheck some information." Sarah said she would be back in a moment, got away from the door, and called the hotel security. She said there is a man trying to rob her. How did she know? Look at the man's name tag. It's a female name. He's not the real hotel manager. When Anna got to school, she noticed that her friend Joan was very upset. It was just the beginning of the day, but someone had already stolen her backpack. Joan left the classroom to go to the bathroom, and at that moment, someone must have got inside and stolen her things. Anna started her own investigation. Jenna from the robotics lab said she'd been fixing a robot that morning. Kate from the cheerleading squad had just begun her practice, and James said he'd spent 3 hours trying to solve a math problem and was now exhausted. Anna knew right away who had taken the backpack. Can you figure it out? It was James. The school day had just started. How could he have been there for 3 hours already? On a beautiful morning, Michael and Christina went on a hike. At some point, they saw a river they had to cross. Both of them needed to get to the other side. However, the boat could only make one trip back and forth and take one of them at a time. Still, both of them managed to get across. How? That's easy. They both went on a hike on the same day, but they weren't together, so they arrived at the river at the same time, but they were on the opposite banks. So after the boat took Christina to the other side of the river, Michael managed to get to the opposite bank too. At a party, there were 9 candies in a box. 9 people took 9 candies, but 1 candy was still in the box. How could that be possible? the last person took the candy that was still in the box. When the day after tomorrow becomes yesterday, then today will be as far from Sunday as the day it was today when the day before yesterday was tomorrow. Which day is it? It's Sunday. Look, the day after tomorrow becomes yesterday on Wednesday. The day before yesterday was tomorrow on Thursday. And Wednesday and Thursday are equally far from Sunday. Susanna was walking down the street when she saw a dog. It looked like the dog had just run away, so she picked it up and started searching for its owner. She walked into a co-working space. There were 3 people there. Susanna knew immediately who the owner was. How did she figure it out? Look at the guy in the middle. He's sitting on top of a dog leash. It was Brian's birthday, and he organized a game for his friends. He placed 2 cards, one yellow and one red, inside a box. The rule said that if a person picked the red card, they would win $7,000, but if they picked the yellow card, they would have to pay $700. Nobody knew that Brian had lied. He'd put 2 yellow cards inside the box instead of one red and one yellow. Brian's friend Sandra watched her friends lose the game one by one. But when it was Sandra's turn, she won $7,000. How? When it was her turn, she picked one of the yellow cards, not showing it to anyone. Then, she picked the remaining card, which was also yellow, and showed it to her friends. Brian had to admit that the first card she'd drawn and hidden was red. Otherwise, all his friends would know he was a liar. Way to go, Sandra. Amy has to escape from a high-security room, but to do so, she has to solve a riddle. There are 2 strings in the room, and the only information she has is that each string takes exactly 1 hour to burn. She needs to time exactly 45 minutes with the help of the strings. How can she do it? Amy should light both ends of the first string and one end of the second string. In 30 minutes, the first string will burn completely since it'll burn twice faster with both ends on fire. Then, she should light the second end of the second string. At that time, the second string will have 30 minutes left to burn. But by lighting its other end, Amy will make it burn in 15 minutes. Voila! 45 minutes measured. On January 1st, Devin called the police to report a crime. He said he'd gone to his neighbor's New Year's Eve party the night before. And while he was away, someone broke into his house and stole his laptop and other valuables. When the police asked about the party, Devin said it had been great. There was good food and string lights were shining brightly and beautifully. Devin added that his neighbor could have been the one to steal his things. Maybe he snuck inside the house when Devin was at his place, having fun. The police officer went to interrogate Devin's neighbor, Tom. But as soon as Tom opened the door, the officer knew he wasn't guilty. Devin was lying. How did he understand this? Look at the string lights on the tree. They're missing 3 bulbs. It means they couldn't be working the night before. Devin is lying. Matthew was on an expedition to the South Pole. He had been exploring the area for days when a storm began. Looking for shelter, he managed to find 2 caves. In the first cave, there was a very hungry-looking polar bear. In the second cave, the air was filled with toxic gas. Which cave should he choose? The first cave. Polar bears don't live at the South Pole. Jerry has an apple tree. The number of apples on his tree doubles every week. 30 weeks later, the tree is completely covered in fruit. Can you guess how many weeks the tree will need to become covered in oranges? Oranges don't grow on apple trees, but if I asked you about apples, the answer would be 29 weeks. Because, as we know, the number of apples doubles every week. Nobody has ever walked this way. What way is it? The Milky Way. Dave was held in a 150-foot high tower of an ancient castle. In his cell, there was nothing other than a pair of scissors and a 75-foot long rope. Despite this, when the guards came to check on him the next morning, they saw he had managed to escape. How did he do it? He cut the rope in the middle, but rather than cutting it across, he cut it along. Then, he tied both pieces of the rope together and safely got down to the ground. Genius, huh? On the outskirts of the town, there was a haunted house. A group of friends decided to check it out. They went there at night, but as soon as they got there, one of the friends, John, refused to go inside and tried to stop the others. But they just laughed at him and went inside, leaving him behind. There were several terrible crashing sounds coming from the house. And then everything went still. John never saw his friends again. How did John understand that there was something seriously wrong with the house? John was very attentive. He noticed that there were lots of footprints leading towards the house, but none going away. Rachel was in her office when security called her, saying there was a robber in the building and he was trying to escape. She ran to the elevators to get outside. But two elevators arrived at the same time. In each of them, there was a man that looked suspicious and could be the robber. How can Rachel understand which elevator is safe to take? The one that's going up. If the robber is trying to get out of the building, his elevator will be going down. So Rachel should take the one going up.
A new ice cream parlor opens up in Matt's neighborhood. He goes there to check it out. It's pretty crowded because they offer one free ice cream serving to each customer. Matt meets a pretty lady named Kitty in the line. He falls in love with her right away, but unfortunately, she's already married. Can you find her husband among these guys? It's the second man. He's the only one who doesn't hold any ice cream. And Kitty is holding two ice cream servings, one for herself and one for her spouse. The next day, Matt missed his alarm. And now he's late for work. His boss is going to be furious. Matt might even get fired. But wait a minute. It turned out that the big boss is out of the office today. He's having a last-minute business trip, so Matt can relax. But suddenly, the boss calls him on the phone.
Hello.
Where are you? You got 10 minutes to get to the office. Matt replies, I am in the subway right now. Well, I got something I need you to do for me. Call me when you're in the office. Matt is a pretty genius liar. How did he fool his boss? Matt had a subway noise track on his computer. He played it when he was on the phone with the boss. Clever. Matt enters the local bakery on the way to the office.
Hello.
The cook brings 2 trays with fresh tartines. Take your time and try to spot 10 differences between them. Ready to see the answer? Here they are. What about these 2 breakfasts? Can you find 10 differences? Over here. Matt arrives at the office. Oh no. Someone has changed the password on their corporate computer. It consists of 7 digits. Matt texts his coworker and asks about the new code. He receives the following reply. Can you help him figure out the code? The number of fingers implies the right digit in the password. So Matt should enter 1, 0, 5, 2, 3, 1, and 0. Matt is an illustrator. His boss sends some files and asks him to separate the images and add some colors.
Oh.
Unfortunately, all the layers are merged. Can you spot 6 different objects in this picture? Here they are. What about this one? Can you spot 11 objects? Over here. Matt's sister, Ashley, is getting married. He arrives at the event, and she asks him to take a picture of her with some friends. But someone pranks the bride in the middle of the photo shoot and spills paint on her beautiful dress. Can you guess who did it by just looking at this picture? It's the man on the right. He has a rope in his hands, and it's tied to the bucket. Ashley changes and the wedding goes great. After the ceremony, they throw a party in a restaurant. This place is very popular among the newlyweds. Matt faces 3 brides in the lobby and spots the fake one right away.
Hello.
What about you? It's the third lady. She's wearing regular jeans and sneakers under her dress. And also, she's wearing a wig. She must be just trying on a costume. The wedding dinner begins, and the waiters serve the first course. But suddenly, the lights turn off for 15 seconds. When the power is back again, Matt finds out that his golden watch is gone.
Oh no.
He questions 4 suspects. Karen says, "I was eating the wedding cake when the light turned off. It was delicious." Nick says, "I was talking on the phone with my grandpa. When it got dark, I just continued our conversation." David says, "I was washing my hands in the bathroom." And Stella says, "I was taking pictures of the food for my Instagram. The local cuisine is so fancy." Who's lying? Karen. She said she was eating the cake. But take a look at the wedding cake. It hasn't been cut yet. The dinner has just started. It so happened that Matt is spending the Christmas holidays with 3 of his ex-girlfriends. They go to a fancy ski resort in Alaska. It was the first day of vacation when Matt was found poisoned in his bedroom. The police interrogate his ex-girlfriends. All the 3 ladies went away that day, and Matt stayed in the hotel for a nap. Megan says, "I was shopping all day long." Lola says, "I went to the beach to sunbathe and swim. When I returned, I found Matt lying unconscious." And Sophie says, "I went to the local coffee shop to write my novel. Nobody wanted to join me." Who's lying? Lola, it's Christmas time, so it should be very cold in Alaska. She couldn't swim and sunbathe outdoors. Finally, Matt gets better and leaves the hospital.
Yeah.
He returns to the ski resort and takes a look at the mountains. What are they doing wrong? This guy is riding a snowboard. He doesn't need ski poles. After the Alaska trip, Matt gets a new job in New Orleans.
Oh, yeah.
He finds a great apartment and moves in. 3 neighbors knock on his door to greet the new neighbor. One of these ladies is a real witch. Can you spot who exactly? The first lady brought a cake. It looks pretty innocent. The third lady brought a plant. Looking good too. But the second woman brought a basket with food. And there's a snake crawling around her gifts. Matt wakes up in a weird maze in the middle of the night. The only way to escape is to walk through this labyrinth. But unfortunately, there are 4 dangerous creatures waiting for him on the way. First of all, there's a gorgon who turns everybody she sees into stone. Secondly, a werewolf. It's a full moon, so he's very hungry. The third creature is a tree goblin. He can grab people with his strong branches, and it's impossible to get out. And finally, there's a siren who can use her singing to make you do anything she wants. Luckily, Matt has 4 magic potions which can be helpful. Each potion has a 24-hour effect. If you spill the first potion on anybody, they'll become silent. The second potion will make any creature very weak. The third potion turns anyone into a vegan. And the fourth potion causes blindness. Can you help Matt distribute the potions among the creatures correctly? Matt should use the silence potion to neutralize the siren, use the blinding potion against the gorgon, turn the werewolf into a vegan, and weaken the tree goblin.
Mary is a mermaid. She lives under the sea with her mother, Marina. Mary is 19 years old, and Marina is twice her age. How old would Mary be when Marina is 99? "80, because Mary is 19 years younger than Marina. Mary is hanging out at her favorite spot in the ocean. Both of the following facts are true. If all the goldfish sit on all the seashells, one fish per shell, one goldfish will stay without a shell. And if every two goldfish decide to share a seashell, one shell will be left without a goldfish. Can you count the correct number of seashells and goldfish? There are 4 goldfish and 3 seashells. Mary has a crush on Carl. He's a human. Can you find him among these 3 guys? The first guy has a mermaid tattoo on his arm, but it doesn't prove anything. The second guy is wearing a seashell necklace, but maybe he just loves jewelry. But the third guy is definitely Carl. His face and name are printed on this diving coach poster. Mary goes to a sea witch and asks her to turn her into a human. The witch says, "Okay, but first I gotta check if you deserve my gift. Solve my riddle. When you have 10, you have 10. When you have 3, you have 3. And when you have 1, you have none. What is it that you have? Can you help Mary out?" The correct answer is choice. Mary gets her legs and goes on a date with Carl. They're having dinner in a restaurant on the beach. But can you guess who should pay for this scooter? Mary. Only her footprints lead to the scooter. Therefore, she arrived at this vehicle, and Carl walked from the other side. Carl and Mary keep on walking on the shore and see these 4 guys playing in the sand. Suddenly, Carl freaks out and runs away. Why? This guy is a ghost. He doesn't have a shadow. Carl invites Mary to a birthday party. He introduces her to his best friends, Bob, Elle, Otto, and Hannah. Can you guess what's so special about them? They all have palindrome names. The next day, Mary goes to a job interview. She arrives at an office building with a metal door. It's locked, but there's a note next to the combination lock. It only has 4 words: starfish, pearl, fire, and turtle. Can you help Mary crack this code? All things in this list can be found underwater, except for the fire, so the password is fire. At the job interview, the HR manager shows Mary 4 identical glasses with water and different objects inside them. He asks her to find a glass which contains the most water. Can you help her out? It seems like the water level is even in all the glasses, but what happens if we remove the objects? The glass that contains the smallest object will have the most water. So Mary should choose the second glass. Mary gets a job as a waitress in a restaurant. On her first day, one client runs away without paying the check. The manager says, "No worries, I know him." He has 4 sisters, and he's probably hiding in one of their houses. The manager is not a policeman, so he can't just break into their houses. That's why he looks through his sister's fresh Instagram posts. Can you spot who's hiding the thief? Take a closer look at the second and fourth pictures. Both selfies reveal fragments of male hands, but only this guy is wearing the same ring as the thief. Gotcha! The next day, a group of 6 friends celebrates their birthday in a restaurant. All except Kyle and Kitty order cherry punch. They drink it and 5 minutes later get sick. Mary calls doctors and they conclude that someone had poisoned the punch. She suspects Kyle and Kitty, so she asks them just one question. Why did you order other drinks? Kitty replies, I ordered tea because I'm allergic to strawberries. Even one small bite gives me a red rash. And Kyle replies, I'm not proud of it, but I'm really broke. I took coffee just because it's cheaper. Who's lying? Kitty. She said that she was allergic to strawberries, but the guests drank cherry punch. Carl invites Mary on a romantic weekend in the country. They stay in a fancy hotel and go for a walk. When they come back, they see that someone broke into the room and rummaged through their stuff. They question 3 suspects. Their neighbor says, Sorry, I had a skydiving class. I arrived 5 minutes ago. The cleaner says, I spent all day cleaning rooms on the 4th floor, so I haven't had time to clean up your room yet. And the lobby boy says, I was dealing with a tourist group from Sweden all day. We had some booking issues. Who's lying? The cleaner. This hotel is a 3-story. Carl and Mary go on a boat trip and face a huge storm. They end up on a deserted island. After a while, they get really hungry and go for a walk to find something to eat. There are 4 options: cornfield with fresh harvest, a garden with wild sweet potatoes, oranges from this tree, or berries from this bush. Can you help the guys make the safest choice? The boogeyman in the cornfield is moving, and it looks pretty unfriendly. There are sharp thorns on these berry bushes. Creepy spiders are hiding in this orange tree, so they better choose sweet potatoes. Mary and Carl keep on walking and find a tunnel. Unfortunately, they get trapped inside. There are 3 possible exits. A family of mountain lions is hiding behind the first door. The second door leads to a room constructed from magnifying glass. The hot sun instantly fries anyone who enters. And there's a lake with crocodiles behind the third door. Can you help the guys escape? They should wait until nighttime and go through the second door. Mary and Carl find 2 identical basketballs in the field. They have the same diameter and weight, but one of them is solid and the other one is hollow. How can they identify the solid ball without picking it up or bouncing it? They should push both balls from the top of a mountain. The one that reaches the bottom faster is the solid ball because it needs less mechanical energy to rotate. Suddenly, the sea witch pops out of nowhere and teleports Mary and Carl into a dungeon. There's a weird note on the door: JMNBJ 3 SHLDR. They need to crack this code to escape. Can you help them? Replace every letter in this note with the one before it in the alphabet, and we get knock 3 times. They knock 3 times and the door opens. The guys enter a spacious hallway with 3 tunnels leading outside. Hungry leopards are waiting in the first tunnel. In the second tunnel, there's a tank with piranhas. Nobody can cross it and stay alive. And there's a giant fire-breathing pterosaur behind the third door. Which route is more or less safe? To crack this riddle, we should remember 2 things. Pterosaurs don't breathe fire. That's what dragons do. Moreover, they got extinct many millions of years ago, so this third door is the best choice.
Jaden bought a beautiful ring for his girlfriend. He wanted to propose to her at the weekend. He left the ring on his desk at home and went to work. But when he got back in the evening, he didn't find the ring. Only his 3 sisters were at home that day, and all of them didn't like his girlfriend. He went to question each of them. Mia was in her room. She said she had spent the whole day there painting the walls. Emily was in the kitchen. She answered she'd been cooking a birthday cake for her friend. and the youngest, Nora, was in the garden. She said she had been planting roses. It didn't take Jaden long to figure out who had taken the ring. Do you know who it was? It was Nora. She looks too tidy after spending the entire day in the garden. Plus, she doesn't have any garden tools. Carter's literally running home from school. He has a piece of cake waiting for him there. But as soon as the boy opens the fridge, he realizes someone's eaten his cake. It can only be his elder sister Maya. He sees her leaving the bathroom. "How could you? I've been dreaming about this cake for the whole day." "What are you talking about? I came home half an hour ago. I immediately got in the shower and just finished." Carter isn't convinced. His sister's hair is completely dry. Maya is both telling the truth about the shower and lying about not eating the cake. How is it possible? The girl did get in the shower, but she didn't turn the water on. She was just sitting there and eating the cake. Someone stole the money Adam kept in his safe.
Oh my God.
The police questioned 3 suspects. Julia said she'd gone to bed at 10 p.m. and fallen asleep right away. Parker told the detective he'd been watching TV from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. And Aiden had said he'd been at his friend's playing computer games all night. The police immediately arrested the thief. Who was it? It was Parker. He was very specific about the time. The best player of Julian's volleyball team disappeared right before the game. Julian suspected 3 players from the rival team. Jackson said, "I've just returned from the gym. I was warming up before the competition." Leo had to pick up his wife with her daughter from the hospital. And Ryan claimed he'd fractured his leg, and the team doctor was giving him a massage. Who's behind the player's disappearance? It's Ryan. Getting a massage when your leg's broken? Really? A rich businessman called the police and said a precious vase from his collection had gone missing. When the detective arrived, he found out the businessman had just returned from his overseas trip. While he was away, a security guard was looking after the house. The man was questioned. "It happened last night. I was in the same room with the vase reading. Suddenly, the power went out. I heard the doorbell ring and hurried to open the door, but there was no one outside. When I came back, the vase was gone." The detective didn't believe the security guard and arrested him. Why? The doorbell can't ring if there's no electricity. Caroline went for a walk to the park. Deep in her thoughts, the girl wasn't really looking where she was going. That's why she didn't notice a pit in the ground and fell into it. When she came around, she found herself in a strange room. There were no windows, no door. In the dim light, the girl saw a table with 3 apples on it. And was it a note? "To get out of this trap, you've got to eat an apple. But only one of them isn't poisoned. Pick carefully." Caroline was terrified. But after examining the apples, she bravely bit into one of them, and nothing bad happened. Which apple did she choose? The girl chose the apple with the worm peeking out of it. If this creature can eat the fruit, a human can too. Mary worked as a maid in a rich family. Once they left for a 1-week vacation. The girl stayed alone and looked after the house. When her employers returned, the wife discovered that 2 of her diamond rings had gone missing. The woman called the police and accused Mary of taking the jewelry. Can you help the girl prove she has nothing to do with the theft? Mary was probably not very attentive while cleaning the house. One of the rings is under the sofa, the other in the bucket. It was the first day of school when the principal's wallet went missing. There were 3 suspects: the gardener, the math teacher, and the coach. Here's what they said. The gardener was mowing the front yard. The math teacher was checking the surprise test he'd given his students. And the coach was meeting new people who wanted to join the school's soccer team. Who took the wallet? It was the math teacher. Nobody gives surprise tests on the first day of school. Landon's mother is going to visit her relatives in another town. Before leaving, she enters her son's room to say goodbye. Oh my, it's a terrible mess. And the boy's playing games on his phone. The woman takes the gadget away and locks it in her safe. I'll tell you the password only after you send me a photo of your room, tidy and squeaky clean. She's at the railway station when Landon sends her the photo. She's happy at first before she realizes it's an old one. How did she understand it? The date on the departure board at the station is December 20th, 2020, but it's July 5th, 2019 on the calendar in Landon's room. Logan is a special agent who's trying to catch a notorious villain. After long months of investigation, he finds the criminal's headquarters. But the door is locked, which is not a surprise really. Logan sees a screen next to the entrance. He touches it and the display lights up. It must be a riddle. Our special agent needs to solve it to get inside. Add 1 line to make it right. 9.5 equals 10, 10, 10. Logan cracks the puzzle in no time. What's the answer? "9.5 equals 10 to 10. The door opens and the man steps into a dark corridor. After walking some time, Logan notices a door. A code lock again. That's when the man also spots a calendar hanging on the wall. At the bottom, there are several letters, M, F, W. After connecting the dots, the special agent figures out the code. What is it? It's 153. The letters stand for the days of the week, Monday, Friday, and Wednesday. Monday is the first day, Friday the 5th, and Wednesday the 3rd one. The door swings open and Logan sees a room. There's not much inside, just an old mattress, several half-rotten fruits in the corner, a small knife half hidden under the mattress, and a water dispenser with a bottle of water on top of it. The villain must have kept someone here. Anyway, there are 4 doors leading out of the room. Behind the first one, there's a mother bear with a cub. The second one leads to a lake with hungry crocodiles. Behind the third door, there's a room filled with toxic gas. And the fourth door hides a wall of fire. With his special training, Logan doesn't need much time to choose the door and leave the room. Which one does he pick? The third one. The agent empties the water bottle. Then he uses the knife to cut it in such a way that his head fits in. His scarf helps to prevent the toxic air from entering the bottle. He runs into a room. In the corner, Logan sees a staircase. It leads to the basement. Down there are 3 men. Each of them is tied to a chair and claims that one of the other 2 is the villain. They tell Logan they've been locked in there for at least 4 days. The special agent looks at the men attentively and soon figures out who the criminal is. Can you do the same? The villain is the man on the left. 4 days have passed, but he has no stubble whatsoever. Case solved. Allison is a big boss in an international company. One day, she's hurrying to an important meeting when she notices the documents she needs haven't been printed out. But she's asked at least 3 of her subordinates to do it. Ian says he's just returned from the supermarket because they've run out of coffee beans. Robert claims he's been terribly busy drafting a new contract. And Alice answers she's been in the kitchen, preparing snacks and making coffee for the meeting. Who's actually forgotten about the task and making up excuses at the last moment? It's Alice. There's no coffee in the office. Then how could she make it? Uh-huh.
Nancy and Mike were going to the Carnival of Riddles, which was scheduled to be in their town during the weekend. It was a very popular carnival that was traveling the country, and everybody was so excited. So, when they arrived, they saw a very long line, and it seemed like they had to wait for many hours to be able to get in. But the ticket salesman left his booth and walked in front of the crowd. He said that he was going to give a riddle to everyone. Since this was the Carnival of Riddles, those who could answer correctly would be able to get inside earlier than others. The riddle was this: I am the beginning of eternity. I am the end of time and space. I am the start of every end. I am the end of every place. What am I? The answer is the letter E. Nancy and Mike were so happy that they knew the answer and didn't have to wait to get in. But even though they were able to move in front of the line, they still had to pay for the tickets. But they were so expensive. The salesman offered them another riddle. If they could answer it, he would give them a 50% discount. I have an X number of candy apples. If I count them by 3s, the remainder is 2. If I count them by 5s, the remainder is 3. If I count them by 7s, the remainder is 2. How many candy apples do I have? Mike was kind of a genius, so he knew the answer immediately. Do you? The answer is 23. Nancy and Mike were glad to have been able to save some cash to buy snacks. Nancy wanted to get something sweet for herself and her brother, so they went to the candy booth. They had 3 options to choose from. They could either buy cotton candy, candy cane, or a candy apple. Which one should they pick? Take a closer look at the cotton candy. There's a teeny tiny spider stuck inside. Yikes! And did you notice that little apple worm inside the candy apple? That's never good. So, they should buy the candy cane. Before leaving the candy booth, Mike wanted to get a gumball too. However, when he inserted his coin into the gumball vending machine, he realized that something was strange. Hey! Do you see it too? Look inside the machine carefully. Not everything in there is a gumball. This and that are eggs. How weird is that? Hey! After eating their candy, they came upon a tent with a sign that said, "Enter if you want to see real magic." They were intrigued, so they decided to walk in. There were 3 different magicians. The first was holding cards in his hands. Then he made them disappear. The second one also had cards, but he was making them levitate. And the third one put a pen through a card, but the card was unharmed after. Only one of them was capable of real magic, and the others were just doing tricks. Can you tell who? Take a closer look at the first magician's sleeves. You can see a corner of the card. He didn't make them disappear, he just hid them. The second magician's cards are attached to a clear thread. You can notice it from where the sunlight hits. So the third one is the real deal. Mike was a fan of all things scary, so he convinced his sister to take the haunted house ride. As their cart moved inside the dark tunnel, they encountered 3 different monsters along the way. A zombie, a ghost, and a mummy. Little did they know that one of them was a real monster. Can you tell which one? Take a look at the zombie. Its makeup is kind of melting, which means that it must be an actor. As for the mummy, look at his ankle. His skin slightly shows under all that mummy gauze. So he must be a dressed-up actor as well. That makes the ghost the real monster. So creepy. Nancy didn't enjoy the haunted house ride. She wanted her next ride to be something relaxing, so she chose the carousel. Mike decided to skip this one to explore the carnival more. They agreed to meet later. When Nancy arrived at the carousel, she saw that all the horse seats were taken, except 3. But only one of them looked safe to sit on. Which one is that? The second horse mount is cracked. It's not wise to pick that one. And the third horse is slowly moving back and forth even though the carousel is not rotating yet. Its screws must be loose or something. So she should choose the first one. It's the cutest one anyway. As Nancy was enjoying the carousel, Mike decided to check out the Hall of Mirrors. The information board said that only one person was allowed inside. Mike entered and had so much fun enjoying all the funny reflections of himself on the weird mirrors. But then, suddenly, he screamed with fear. Why is that? Take a closer look at the mirror reflections. One of them doesn't belong to Mike, so he is apparently not the only one inside, even though the sign said he would be. Mike was so scared of the unexpected reflection. He ran out of the Hall of Mirrors immediately, but as he did, he tripped on a stone and twisted his ankle. So he decided to visit the first aid tent to get some ice. When he walked in, he saw that the nurse was in panic and in no condition to help him out because there were 3 pregnant women sitting in front of her, all claiming they were going to give birth now. However, Mike noticed that one of them was lying and faking her pregnancy. Can you tell who? Girl number 3 is clearly the liar. Take a look at the ultrasound picture in her hand. It has the first girl's name on it. She must have stolen it from her, so she's only pretending to be pregnant. Once the real pregnant ladies left for the hospital, Mike was able to get some ice for his ankle and went to meet his sister. At that moment, they heard an announcement coming from the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, gather up to see the strongest man alive. Don't believe me? I'm not lying. Here he comes. See him with your own eyes. Nancy and Mike wanted to see who this man was, so they joined the crowd. A muscular-looking man entered the stage. He said,
I will prove to you how strong I am by breaking this thing with my bare hands. But first, you have to guess what it is. Here is my riddle to you. There was a greenhouse. Inside the greenhouse, there was a white house. Inside the white house, there was a red house. Inside the red house, there were lots of little ones.
Nancy knew the answer, so she yelled it out. Can you guess? It's a watermelon, and the strongman was able to break it with his bare hands indeed. So cool! Nancy and Mike were tired, so they decided to call it a day and go home. But before that, they wanted to get a souvenir from the carnival. They picked a beautiful fridge magnet. When they paid for it, the gift shop salesman put 3 cups upside down on the table and placed their money under one of them. He said he would give their money back and the magnet for free if they could guess which cup had their money after he performed his trick. Watch carefully. Nancy knew where the money was immediately. How about you? It's here. You thought it was under this one, right? Watch it in slow motion again. Do you see the salesman putting the money under that one with a quick hand movement? Nancy noticed that. What a fun day! During a visit to an antique store, Rachel found a peculiar piece of gold. It turned out that the man who brought it to the shop mentioned it had once belonged to a pirate named Captain Benedict Jameson. He said he had hidden the rest of his treasures on an island. The map was hidden inside a cave that was located on a beach on the same island, but no one has managed to find the treasure yet. Rachel was intrigued, so she called her friend Jeremy and convinced him to set sail there to search for this treasure. After weeks of sailing, they arrived at the island and looked for the cave first. Can you spot it? Here it is. Three different paths within the cave led to the map. Which one should they choose? Notice the blinking eyes of a wild animal waiting for its prey in the shadows of the second path? There is a rather large spider web blocking the third path. That must only mean there's a large spider that made it. So, the safest option is the first path. They arrived at the end of the cave and found 3 wooden boxes. Each had a different map on it. Only one map will lead them to the treasure. Which map should they choose? The area that the first map shows is surrounded by trees. The second map shows an area surrounded by the ocean. The area on the third map is surrounded by mountains. So, since they're on an island, they should choose the second map. On the back of the treasure map, they found a message written by Captain Benedict himself.
Congratulations, traveler. You've picked the correct map. Now you're a step closer to finding the rest of my wealth. But I warn you, the journey ahead won't be simple. You'll have to solve every riddle that I have for you. And only then will you be able to find my treasure.
According to the map, they had to enter the forest. Captain Benedict left another riddle on the map about it.
My friend will accompany you from here on, but first, you have to find the tree that it lives on. Look for a fruitful palm tree. If you try to bite the fruit I'm talking about, you'll break your teeth. I guarantee.
Take a look around. Which tree do you think that the captain is talking about? Some of these trees don't have any fruit at all, so none of them can be the tree the captain mentioned. These trees have bananas on them, but you won't break your teeth if you eat bananas. Then it must be this tree with coconuts, because you'll definitely break your teeth if you try to bite a coconut. When they got closer to the tree, they noticed an engraving on it. It said,
"Look up and find my friend Jonathan the monkey. Take him with you on your journey, because he knows where I hid the key."
Then Rachel and Jeremy looked up and saw 3 monkeys. Which monkey do you think Jonathan is? Notice that the third monkey is holding the same piece of gold as the one Rachel found at the antique store? This guy must have access to the treasure, so he must be Jonathan. Rachel and Jeremy tried taking Jonathan with them, but he refused to even move. How do you think they can convince Jonathan to come with them? Luckily, there's banana trees around, so they should just give him a banana to gain his trust. Jeremy wanted to climb one of the banana trees to pick a banana, but they were all very tall, and it seemed impossible to climb any of them. However, Rachel suddenly burst with excitement after seeing something that would help Jeremy. What did Rachel see? Take a closer look at the trees. One of them has an old rope ladder attached to it. Jeremy can climb up there to get a banana. After Jeremy had picked a banana, Jonathan the monkey got down from the tree to get it. While he was eating his banana, Rachel and Jeremy felt hungry and decided to take a break to eat something too. However, when they reached for the food in their bags, everything was gone. Can you guess what happened? Did you notice something strange as Jeremy was climbing the tree? Let's rewind a bit to show you what happened. The monkeys were stealing all the food from Jeremy and Rachel's bags. Rachel and Jeremy had nothing else to eat other than the bananas off of the trees. But when Jeremy tried to climb up the rope ladder again, the rope broke. Now that they wouldn't be able to pick any bananas, they had to find something else to eat. They walked around and came across a waterfall. Rachel suggested that they catch some fish. Jeremy then caught 3 different fish, but only one of them was safe to eat. Can you tell which one? They should eat the first fish because the second fish has spikes on it, so it's not suitable to eat. The third fish isn't real. It's electronic. It has small cameras instead of eyes. They fell asleep after eating, trying to figure out where the electronic fish came from. The next morning, when Jeremy woke up, he realized that Rachel was gone. Then they heard a man's voice. Jeremy couldn't figure out where it was coming from, but Jonathan the monkey pointed to the electronic fish. The voice said,
"I have your friend. Answer this riddle of mine if you want to see your friend again. There's a one-story house in which everything is green. Green walls, green doors, green furniture. What color are the stairs?"
Since it's only a one-story house, there aren't any stairs in it. Suddenly, the waterfall stopped flowing, and the cave appeared behind it. The voice said,
"Enter."
Inside, an evil scientist was waiting for Jeremy. He said that he was going to give him a chance to save his friend. He took Jeremy to a water tank with 3 different creatures in it. The scientist said,
"One of these creatures is Rachel, but the other 2 are not human at all. I will free your friend if you can guess correctly which one she is."
Take a closer look at the second creature. There are definitely human legs covered with seaweed. That must be Rachel. The evil scientist set Rachel free, but didn't let them leave the cave just yet. He showed them 3 gates. If they choose the right one, they'll be free to go. Behind the first gate, hundreds of poisonous snakes are waiting. Behind the second gate, there is a vicious vampire. Behind the third gate, there is a pack of hungry wolves. Which door should they choose? They should choose the second door. It's morning outside, the sun is shining bright, and vampires can't survive the sun. After Rachel, Jeremy, and Jonathan got free, they got back on the trail following the map and arrived at the side of a cliff. There were 3 different bridges in front of them from which they could walk across to the other side. Which bridge should they choose? The wooden bridge looks very old. It won't be able to hold their weight. Even though the metal bridge looks sturdy, it's very narrow and it has no railings. They might lose their balance and fall. So, they should choose the glass bridge. As they continued their journey, they walked into a swamp without noticing, and they got stuck in it. There were 3 ropes hanging from a tree, with which they could pull themselves out. Which rope should they choose? The first and the third rope are no ropes at all. One of them is a snake and the other is a tiger's tail, so they should choose the second rope. After they saved themselves from the swamp, they were finally able to make it to the last destination that was marked on the map. There was a trap door in the ground. They had to go through it, but it was locked with a 5-letter combination padlock. However, Captain Benedict left a clue on how to unlock it in his notes, and the clue was 3, 8, 5, 19, 20. What do you think it means? Each number represents its respective letter in the alphabet. The third letter of the alphabet is C. The 8th letter is H. The 5th letter is E. The 19th letter is S. And the 20th letter is T. So the passcode is the word chest. Once they opened the door, they saw a staircase leading to an underground room. When they entered it, they found 3 different chests. Only one of them holds the treasure. Which one is it? Can you see the ants coming in and out of the first chest carrying small pieces of food? And a sticky, slime-like substance is oozing from the third chest. It must be filled with whatever that is. But there is a golden reflection coming from the second chest. That can only mean the gold is in there. They left the room with the treasure chest. However, the chest was locked, and the map didn't have any more notes or directions on it. Jonathan started pulling Rachel's shirt as if he wanted to say something. Then, she remembered Captain Benedict's previous note.
My friend Jonathan the monkey knows where I hid the key.
So she and Jeremy started following Jonathan. They arrived at a beautiful garden with 3 statues. Each statue was holding a key, and only one of them would open the treasure chest. Which one should they choose? Take a closer look at the treasure chest. The lock of the chest has a little emerald on it. The first key has a ruby on it. The second key is decorated with an amethyst. And the third key has an emerald on it. Since it matches the lock, this must be the key they should choose. Hey, how about some tricky riddles that will put your brain to work? Ready? How fast can you solve this one? Grace has 7 sons and each of them has a sister. How many children does Grace have in total? The answer is 8. I bet all the sons have the same sister, so 7 sons plus 1 sister equals 8 children. Stephen's family was away this weekend, but he was found unconscious outside his mansion. Investigators had 3 main suspects. All of them were in the house when it happened. The first person was Maya, but she claimed to be innocent. I was cleaning the house in the morning and I took a nap in the afternoon, she told the investigators. John, the butler, said, I was told to check the food inventory in the afternoon. And the last person to be interrogated was James, the driver. He claimed he'd been far away from the house that day.
I was driving the boss's children to a garden party.
Which of these people do you think is guilty? It was James. All family members were away that weekend, so his alibi can't be true. What English word has the same pronunciation even after you take away 2 of its 3 letters? It's B. Phew, that one took some work. Look at these images and try to guess what's wrong. Duh! In the last picture, the woman is trying to eat soup with a fork. Like that would work. On a lazy Sunday afternoon, 7 friends decided to go to the mall. Esme, Evelyn, and Elise grabbed a cup of coffee each, while Ava, Ella, and Emma decided to drink some refreshing soda. Using this logic, can you figure out if Esther chose to drink coffee or soda? Esther is drinking coffee. The secret is in the girl's name. Esme, Evelyn, Elise, and Esther all have 2 letters E in their names, just like the word coffee. There were 4 pears in the basket and 4 people in the room. Each person took 1 pear. In the end, there was still 1 pear left in the basket. How is that possible? The last person took a pear that was still lying in the basket. Mary's birthday was coming up, and she decided to treat herself to a relaxing day at the spa. During a massage, Mary dozed off. When she woke up, the money she had in her purse was missing.
Oh no!
Mary had 3 suspects. The cashier, Erica, claimed, "I was having lunch in the back." Catherine, the masseuse, said, "I went to the back of the store to get some extra oil." The last person was Monica. She was another customer. She said she hadn't seen anything and had just been waiting for her appointment. Can you tell which one is the culprit? The thief is Catherine. She must have waited for Mary to fall asleep and then took her things. Look at the money hidden behind the oils. Hey, it's time for a hair appointment to trim those split ends. But in this scenario, there are only 2 hairdressers in town who can cut your hair. This guy or this girl. Which one should you choose? The girl, of course. If there are only 2 hairdressers in town, that means they cut each other's hair. And judging by the haircut the guy gave the girl, it looks like he doesn't really know what he's doing. If a rooster lays an egg on top of this cabin, in which direction will it roll? Aha! Roosters don't lay eggs, so it wouldn't roll anywhere. The shopkeeper of an expensive skincare store called the police because someone had robbed his business. He didn't notice the culprit, but according to the security camera footage, there were 3 customers in the store at the time of the robbery. Police officers questioned each of them. Michael said he'd been buying some stuff for his pets. The second suspect, Kayla, was looking for ointments and some aloe vera gel. The last person, Rachel, told the interrogators she'd been busy looking for lotions. Can you tell who's lying? Michael is the culprit. The skincare store doesn't sell pet products. Duh. Peter is a rich man who owns a lot of expensive jewelry. One day, he woke up and noticed that all of it had been stolen. Uh-oh. He called a private detective to solve this case. Peter's wife Carla was the first one to be interrogated. "I was showering at the time," she said nervously. Bianca, the housekeeper who had been working for the family for years, was not in the house. She said, "I was cleaning the garage." The last suspect was Barb, the house chef. "I was making lunch for the family," she told the detective. Can you tell who stole the jewelry? It was Barb, of course. She claimed she was cooking lunch, but the crime happened at night. A man lives on the 80th floor of a high-rise building. On rainy days, he takes the elevator all the way up. But on sunny days, he only takes the elevator halfway to his floor. And then, he takes the stairs the rest of the way. Why does he do this? Well, my friends, it so happens that the man is short. Normally, he can only reach the 40th floor button. But on rainy days, he manages to push the 80th floor button with the help of his umbrella handle. Genius, huh? On a rainy day, Miranda decided to work from home. At one point, she went to the bathroom, But when she got back, she noticed that her cell phone and money had been stolen right in her own house during the day. There were 3 people in the house at the time. Her sister Beth claimed it wasn't her. "I was still asleep at the time because I'd gone to bed late yesterday." Her other sister Anna said she'd been taking a stroll in the garden when it had happened. "I was watching the night-scented orchid bloom." And lastly, there was Josh, Miranda's boyfriend. "I've just got home for lunch," he said. What do you think? Which of these 3 suspects stole Miranda's money and cell phone? Anna is the culprit, of course. Night-scented orchids only bloom at night, so she probably sneaked in and grabbed Miranda's things while the girl was away. A farmer rode into the village on Monday. He stayed in the village for 4 days and rode out on Monday. How is that possible? The farmer's horse is named Monday. I bet you didn't guess this one, did you? Uncle Ben's farm experienced a terrible downpour, and all but 15 pigs were missing and couldn't be found. How many pigs are still in the barn? If you said 15, you got it right. So, there are 3 important rooms in a house. The first one is a library full of rare books. The second room stores piles of money and gold. And the third room has boxes full of expensive jewelry in it. In case of a fire emergency, in which room will the police try to extinguish the fire first? The correct answer is none. Police officers don't fight fire. That's the job of firefighters. Virginia accidentally sent an email to her boyfriend instead of her best friend. She didn't want her partner to see it, so she took his laptop while he was sleeping and tried to delete the message. The laptop required a password to unlock. Luckily, there was a post-it with a hint. History, 3. Music, 5. Book, 2, 3, 1. Yellow, 1. What's the passcode? Each number indicated the letter Virginia had to select in the corresponding word. The third letter in history is S. The 5th letter in music is C. The second, third, and first letters in book are O, O, and B. And the first letter in yellow is Y. The password is Scooby. Susan found out that her favorite pop band was playing a private concert for VIP clients in a luxurious club. She decided to sneak inside through the back door. But, unfortunately, Susan came across a strict guard behind the door. He refused to let Susan inside without a password. But, luckily for her, there was a hint on the guard's t-shirt. The hint was to infinity plus BD. Susan deciphered the hint and was allowed to enter. Can you guess what the password was? It was to infinity and beyond. After the concert, Susan met up with her friend Bobby. Bobby was an expert in ghost activity. He invited Susan to go ghost hunting to a creepy old hotel. Of course, Bobby had state-of-the-art equipment. Once they arrived at the hotel, his equipment indicated there was strong paranormal activity going on. It looked like the ghost had a sense of humor and wanted to play hide-and-seek with them before it revealed itself. It led Bobby and Susan into a room with 4 doors. Each door had an inscription on it with some clues. The sign on door A said, "It's behind B or C." The sign on door B claimed, "It's behind A or D." Door C said, "It's in here." And door D stated, "The ghost isn't here." Bobby and Susan looked very confused until a note appeared next to their feet. It said, 3 of the inscriptions are false and 1 is true. Can you guess which door leads to the ghost? Let's see how this works. If the ghost was behind door A, then both statements B and D would be true. If it was behind door B, then both A and D would be true. If the ghost was behind door C, then A, C, and D would be all true. But if the ghost was behind door D, then the statements on all the doors would be false, except for that on door B. This fits the rules, so the ghost must be behind door D. The next morning, Bobby called Susan again, saying that he had a surprise. He had won 2 tickets to Susan's favorite theme park and asked her if she wanted to go. Before she answered, though, Bobby warned her that she had to crack a very difficult riddle. Only then would he give her a ticket. She agreed. For a school challenge, 100 students received a number between 1 and 100. Each student was instructed to go inside a classroom that had exactly 100 boxes randomly numbered from 1 to 100. Inside each box, there was a slip of paper with a random number between 1 and 100 on it. Now, each student needed to enter the classroom on their own and find the box that contained the slip of paper with their number on it. But in order to do so, each of them was only allowed to open a maximum of 50 boxes. They were instructed to leave the room exactly as they found it, and they weren't allowed to communicate with other students once they'd left the room. If all of the students managed to find their numbers inside the boxes, they would each get $100. But if one of them wasn't able to find their number, none of them would be able to win the prize. Bobby asked Susan if she knew the best strategy for all of the students to find their numbers and win the prize. After a few hours, Susan called Bobby with the answer. She managed to figure out the riddle. Can you guess what she answered? This riddle isn't obvious, but let's see how it works. If each student searched for their numbers randomly, they would each have a 50% chance of finding the box with their number inside. This is because there were 100 boxes and they were allowed to look inside 50 of them. However, the probability of all of them finding their own number following this random strategy is absurdly small. So, to increase their chances of collectively finding their numbers, they would need a better approach. The students could use something called the loop strategy. After entering the classroom, they should go directly toward the box that has their number on top of it. The number inside probably won't be their number, but that's okay. They should check the number inside the box and go look for the box with that same number on top of it, and so on and so forth. They should keep doing this until they find the paper with their number on it. This strategy means there's more than a 30% chance of the students finding their numbers and winning the prize. It's not a huge probability, but hey, at least they'll have fun trying to figure it out. One afternoon, Susan found her father, Frank, in the living room. Frank was a private investigator and he had just received a message revealing the address of the town's most dangerous criminal, Dirty Jack. He decided to go check the area, even though he didn't know what the criminal looked like. The address turned out to be an old warehouse. When he busted inside, he found 4 people sitting at a table. They were a carpenter, a truck driver, a mechanic, and a firefighter. Without any hesitation, Frank arrested the firefighter. How did he know it was the criminal? The firefighter was the only man in the room. The rest of the people were women. Bobby and Susan decided to go grab a cup of coffee. But when their orders arrived, Bobby's drink came with a fly in it. He called the waiter and asked him to change his cup. The waiter brought him another cup of coffee, but 2 seconds later, Bobby called the waiter again and said, "Hey, that's the same cup." How did he know? Because Bobby had already put sugar in his coffee. And when he tasted the new drink, it already had sugar in it. Susan and her family went on vacation to their country house, but unfortunately, it was raining heavily. It kept raining for 13 days. When it rained in the morning, the afternoon was beautiful and clear. And when it rained in the afternoon, the next day was blessed with a clear, sunny morning. Overall, Susan's family experienced 11 nice mornings and 12 nice afternoons. Can you find out the total number of days they spent in the country house? The total number is 18 days. Here's how you can figure it out. Let's call clear afternoons X, clear mornings Y, and periods of time with no rain O. This equation represents the number of days with rain, X plus Y equals 13. And here are the days with clear mornings, Y plus O equals 11. And this equation represents the days with clear afternoons, X plus O equals 12. If we solve these three equations, we'll learn that X equals 7, Y equals 6, and O equals 5. So the total number of days is 18. Bobby started his morning by jogging in the park near his house. When he returned, he got to know some very unpleasant news. Someone had stolen his car. He questioned 3 of his neighbors. Henry said, "I've been playing video games for the past 12 hours and haven't left my basement." Rosie said, "I'm a gardener. I've been planting daisies in the public area all morning, and I think I saw a suspicious man who opened the car using a knife." Jack said, "I saw your car when I went out for groceries, but when I returned home, it was gone." Who's lying? Rosie. She said she planted daisies, but look, there are only rose bushes in this area. One day, Susan found a box on her desk with a note that read, "What can run but never walks, has a mouth but never speaks, has a head but never weeps, has a bed but never sleeps." Can you decipher this riddle? The correct answer is a river.